So today you are going to be hearing from a World Series of Poker champion. But we're not going to ask you to gamble. We're not going to ask you to put anything on the line, but simply really just listen to what David has to say today. Because also as the CEO of Whippy AI, he is trying to make sure that companies are taking retention to the next level and using automation to do so to ensure that they are working smarter and not harder. On top of that, he also had a very interesting venture with some friends that he attended business school with called Bloom Nation. And for those of y'all who don't know, Bloom Nation is a flower marketplace. David would even describe it as the Airbnb for flowers. But check it out. But on top of this episode, David was really able to get into why every single business owner, entrepreneur has to define their why, has to truly define their ideal and target customer. Because while you may want to make as many sales as possible, bring in all that money, sometimes you have to recognize that everybody may not be ideal for your business, for your model, for your product, for your service. So without further ado, enjoy episode 194, Everyone Can't Go. All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. So got to give a big shout out to David for this one. One, just for taking the time to sit down with me, but for two, just wanted to be of service, wanted to be of help to my audience, very eager to get into all things that he's here to talk about today, but also how he could be of assistance to you, maybe even drop some tips and tricks for you, because I feel like the space that he's in, what they do, it can definitely be of use to myself. It can be of use to a lot of people just tapping in. But before we get into everything, before I have him break it down from start to finish, David, how are you doing today? How's everything on your end?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to see if we can talk about things that are of interest to you in the audience.
Okay, got you. Thank you. We'll definitely appreciate you joining us. Very happy to have you. So, like you said, we're going to have a lot of people tapping in from your side, from my side, people kind of finding out about both of us for the first time, wanting to, learn a little bit more. So, to bring everybody up to speed, put everybody on the same page, can you just do two things for me? One, just tell us a little bit about yourself. And then two, can you just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Yeah. So, my name is David Danishkar. I'm the CEO of Whippy AI, and so we'll talk about that a little bit today. I'm from Los Angeles. Actually, in a former life, after I graduated school, was a professional poker player, and I won the World Series of Poker in 2008. So it was a while ago. And then from there, went to business school and started a company with a couple of my friends out of school called Bloom Nation. It's a flower marketplace like Airbnb for flowers. And there was a developer there that I was very close with. His name is Jack Kennedy towards the end of my stay there. And he decided to start a new company with me after I left. I took a little sabbatical, probably now almost 3.5, 4 years ago. And we united about 3 years ago and just decided to start this adventure. And then, why am I here? I just love to talk about innovative solutions. Love to talk with people like yourself, Tamar, that are ahead of the curve in your audience. So excited to get into it.
You have quite the expertise from winning the. I love how you just humbly just said that you won the World Series of Poker back in 2008. That's amazing. Congrats on that. But Bloom Nation, I've heard of that. I didn't even tie the two together, but I've actually heard of that because I thought it was a very creative concept, and even the way you like the Airbnb for like flowers and things like that. And I think that that's so cool because, a lot of times when it comes to different holidays and different celebratory moments and just monumental things, we want to send things, we want to do things, but it's always a last minute hassle. It's always not getting things of quality or standard, sometimes not even knowing where to go. Stores and flower shops and getting ahead. So I love that y'all kind of stepped into that space and just that creative mindset. But all right. So one of the first things that catches my mind or just catches my interest with your company now, Whippy, is the name. And for those people who have been following along the podcast for quite some time, they know that I'm a stickler for names, but stickler not necessarily in a bad way, but I'm always just very curious and very interested where names come from. What do they mean? The significance behind it. So for you, for Whippy, just tell us a little bit about, where that name came from. Did it derive from something specific? Was it just kind of at the drop of a dime, something random? How did y'all curate that?
Yeah, no. So, well, if any of your listeners are always thinking about creating a name, I mean, the actual name is something else. But the things I try to figure out is like, I look for names that when you Google it, nothing significant comes up. So when I Googled Whippy, Meaning, like, if I was to make obviously you know this, but if you were to make a company now called, I don't know, Apple One, or I don't know what it is, you're gonna have to compete with Apple. If you make a, AI automation is the name of your company, it's just gonna be difficult for people to find it. So I always want a name that's just super, doesn't mean anything. Um, and that the domain was available, whippy.ai. I actually named it because of my dog. I'll show you right here if I can show you this a picture of my dog. It's a whippet. Do you see that? And I don't know if people can obviously hear it on the podcast, but whippets are like smaller versions of greyhounds, but they're very fast and they run straight. And when we're thinking of the software, we're trying to build a software that's very quick, right? Like a lead comes in, you can text them right away. Voice AI can call them right away. We were just thinking of that, and I was looking at my dog, and I was just like, and it was just kind of in that moment, I was just like, okay, this makes sense, because we were looking at a whole bunch of other names, so that's where it came
See, I like that, and that's why I gotta ask the question because I would have never known one that you had
from.
a dog too, let alone a whippet. So no, I'm
Yes.
familiar with those dogs, and definitely that's very creative, and I'm very interested to learn a little bit more about what you got, like how you stepped into business. So okay, so now we have the name, now we see the creativity behind it, now we see some brainstorming sessions. You guys really getting down to the nitty gritty of what it was you wanted to do, the problem that you wanted to solve, everything of the sort. So now, at what point did really the branding come into play? At what point did you really realize? Obviously, with your previous experience, you know the ins and outs of business in a lot of capacities. You know what kind of comes with it, what you need to do to maintain it, elevate it, and everything like that. But for Whippy, for really branching out, for doing your own thing, what did that really consist of as far as the branding and really coming together to form a company?
Yeah, no, very early on, we had hired someone to help us with logo and brand colors. At Bloom Nation, as you said, you've heard the company before. So a big part of branding is just making sure there's uniform messaging. Another big part about branding that goes unspoken is just like the old school marketing stuff, I would say. So we're going to trade shows. There's cold calling. There's emailing. A lot of what we do at Whippy, or even Bloom Nation for that matter, was just traditional sales. So, but no, I think branding's great. There's still a lot of stuff we're working on. We actually have obviously people may listen to us in the future, but we're just bringing on our first marketer. Up until now, myself and one of our other employees here, one of our team members here, we were putting together the case studies. We have a designer that helps us with brand material. So I think early on for your listeners, it's always good, as they say, to fake it till you make it. Like, I think I wouldn't put too much money. This is my belief. It's very different than other people. I wouldn't put too much money behind branding or messaging unless you've tested it. Make a couple calls, see if it resonates with people. If someone asks you, if you're talking about something and someone says, "Oh, tell me more." Oh, that makes sense. There was a famous marketer that told me that he just sent a whole bunch of cold emails and saw what people opened the most, like looked at the open rate. And that's how he created the tagline for his company, because he just saw what people would bite on. So I think sometimes it's good to test a little.
I completely agree with you. I was actually just on a YouTube live with a guy by the name of Neil Patel. He's in the
Mm,
market space a lot, and he does a lot with that and just tips and tricks and really just what's eye opening, attention grabbing, just something that's going to get you because a lot of times with social media, with anything these days, you only have seconds to get somebody's attention, but also seconds to keep it just the same. So I definitely do have to agree with you about not really focusing so much on the aesthetic to start and beautifying everything and making it just that pizzazz, but more so just focusing on what people are resonating with, what people are clicking on, what they want to kind of learn about and do. So Whippy, I see it as pretty much you guys are advertising yourselves as like the all-in-one pretty much like communication platform that just makes things easier for people. So did you find that a lot of this started because there was a problem out there, there was too many across businesses, too much was scattered, they were doing one side was focusing on maybe marketing. Another side was maybe focusing on
mm, mm,
communication. Another side was maybe focusing on revenue.
mm.
Another side was maybe focusing on tech. Did you kind of just want to find a way to streamline everything to make it easier for businesses? Did you find that businesses even were scatterbrained a little bit? They wanted to do so much, but they didn't necessarily have a way to organize it to come together.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I started when we started Whippy, we started with some of our florists. My brother is a lawyer. My dad is a doctor. Some of my friends own a staffing agency. And when we walked, they use one tool for marketing. They'd use one for sales. They'd use one for texting. They use one for qualification reminders. And so, yeah, we thought, how do we bring all these into one platform? And also, more importantly, how do we make that integrate with their law management software, their medical software? Because the point of Whippy is we want to automate, but also use AI to do a lot of the low hanging fruit that people do. So, a classic example I give people is, you know, maybe after someone has a medicine or I don't know, a prescription, the software may want to text, how's it going with this medicine? How can I help? How is your, and you have to remember to do all that. Or if someone applies for a job on Indeed, we want our AI to call them to ask them some interview questions, qualifying questions, bring that in and put it in the CRM. So when someone's looking at it, they know if they're qualified or not. So there's a lot of, I would say, work that's manually done. And we wanted to help really automate that and empower the actual people at the company to do higher level work.
I like that. And I like that too, because I think about a lot of that, as you called it, low hanging fruit that has
Mm,
to be done within a brand and within an organization. And a lot of times myself really feels the sentiment as someone who's a one man band, as someone who is responsible for pretty much all of the ins and outs of the organization. It can become just a little overwhelming. It can become sometimes just a little even daunting, just not wanting to do certain things, but still wanting to push forward the brand and still wanting to make sure things excel. So, yes, to have a place, to have a platform, to have a company that could do that for you to make it easier to kind of just work smarter in the sense it's not as hard. I think that that's very cool. So now with what you're saying, with what you guys are doing, I'm going to make the assumption that this platform is open no matter what industry, no matter what niche you're
yeah, I mean, it's being used. I mean, so when I was at Bloom Nation, to give you more background,
in. Mhm.
the one thing I wanted for myself personally was not to just be in like flowers. Like, like when you think Shopify versus Bloom Nation, what Shopify did well is it could be anyone to anyone that wanted to build a website. So for us, each industry uses us differently, which is hard for marketing. It's not as easy to market yourself or when you're sales, because at Bloom Nation, we're the best software for florists. But yeah, the advantages are it does mean different things to different people, and other people can use it. Now, I think the best way for an entrepreneur to do that is to still focus on things that you see that is working, that's really bringing people real revenue, and then make case studies about that. Have a couple of them be your ambassadors in that industry, and then focus on those industries. But in the beginning, it was like fishing. We're just throwing reels out there to see where we can grab some fish. And like when we pull them out, are those big fish or small fish? And if they're big fish, oh, okay, we need to do that again. And so that is kind of how we did that.
I got you. And I think you spoke to a lot of the just what can come along with starting a business, how things may not always necessarily go your way, how it may take a little bit of effort, of consistency, of persistence to really build that traction, generate that foundation, but continue to go from there. So, would you say in the beginning, getting started with things, getting into this industry, implementing AI just the same, was it well received by a lot of people who you were considering clients? Was this something where people necessarily weren't getting it because they would rather just keep things the way they were?
Mm,
A lot of times people love structure and
mm.
people love to adopt like if it ain't broke don't fix it, but sometimes people don't realize that things aren't necessarily broken, but things can be changed, things can be improved upon, things can be altered and figured out in a different manner. So when you guys were first kind of getting off the ground with things, when you guys were first trying to get the word out there to other people to let them know what you do, was there any drawback, were there any reservations from different industries or just different people?
You know, for us, I don't think you can be all AI. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, everything is AI. So Whitney, just to give you background, is manual. Some people just want to send a manual text, but like if I have a patient and they speak Spanish or Farsi, I want to be able to write in English and the software auto translate it. I want to be able to send them a link to their appointment and automatically follow up if they don't open that link. I want to do very basic things on the one-on-one side. Then I want to automate stuff. Like maybe what I want is anytime it's someone's appointment tomorrow to automatically check in. And then I want like, true AI. So I think the answer is it's not a lot, I think, because you shouldn't go just full blast like chatbots. That really never works. The best thing is to use our first level, which is just using the software to say, how do I engage people best? Then the second thing maybe is to automate some of the processes, and then you want to add on the AI layer. But I think when people go too quick, too fast, sometimes it's just not adopted. And so I think you want to make sure it's functional AI. I think that's the key word I want to say to your audience today, functional AI. You want to make sure that this is AI that actually really helps. And to do that, you actually need to understand what's broken.
And I think that that even goes to show more of a testament to you guys of the work that you guys do, because this is
Yes.
not necessarily something where you can just get in and sell somebody something and really just lay down the line, lay with you need to first take a deeper dive to figure out where things are going wrong. What's the problem? It's where things are starting. And I feel like a lot of times that's where consumers, that's where customers, that's where businesses, they have that trouble because they want to do so many different things. They want to move in so many different directions. They want to make so much money, but ultimately there are things at the core that just aren't working. There are things that can be changed, improved upon. So with a company like yourself, with thinking about the growth, with thinking about trying to build a team, still move, obviously work and have as much impact as you can, both globally and internationally, what is really the main form of marketing for you guys? Like, how do people find out about who Whippy is, what you guys are doing? Because, like you said, Whippy is not something that people are just Googling. It's not
Mm.
something that people are just kind of coming across and searching for and things like that. So, have you found word of mouth? Have you found social media? Have you found referrals? Have you found all of them to just work successfully for Whippy and getting the word out?
Right now, you always have to start with one. And generally, people start with what they're best at. So for us, it was sales, it was calling, emailing, it was guerrilla, like, I mean, traditional um, outbound sales. So that's what we did in the beginning, and we took us a good year or two just to get that motion even going. Now there's some referrals, but still predominantly cold call. I'm in a booth here behind me. There's a couple of our reps just pounding the phone. Ultimately, then once you get to that point, I think you start to invest more. So now, we're bringing on marketing, so we're starting to do more social media, paid advertising, stuff like that. But I think the way that we did that was outbound sales, then start to get referrals, and then start to really invest on the social realm.
So it's like a step by step process. I
I,
get
th-
that too.
I
So
think so.
with any business, with any brand, with any corporation, obviously we think about growth. We don't want to stay stagnant. We want to think about, as times are changing, as things are changing, we're changing. It's just the same. So like you said, you're not about to just be so gung-ho with AI. You're not about to just put it all in
No.
the basket. You're not about to just let AI be the bread and butter of what you do, but rather recognize what you guys do. Use AI as a tool, as a resource, but not just the end all be all. With AI changing so much, with so many updates coming out, Google even just released something, the AI overviews more recently, with so many things in their beta stages, with so many different chat GPTs and different things like that. How does a company that implements AI into their platform, how do you guys stay up to date with things? How do you make sure that you are still ahead of that curve, in the sense you're always learning, but you're always adopting to make sure that you have the best of the best?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know what, I'm going to give an answer that might be a little bit atypical. I don't think you can be caught up with all the distractions. So if you're always worried about what's next, it's hard to then focus on your customers. So I think if you build a good product, so I was like that. I was like, oh my God, I saw a competitor doing this, and oh, I would see this, and my partner and I would talk. But we realized you have to almost be naive, like a horse with blinders. And you always want to know like what new technologies you can bring into your system. But if you're always out there looking, then you're never going to build something because every day there's going to be something new. So I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give the audience here is sometimes it's best to just focus.
I like that. I like just kind of stay where you are, in the sense. I often kind of contribute that to just living in the moment and not really worrying
Mm,
about what's
yes, I
going
like that.
on, not the phone, everything like that. So I get that. Okay, well, I want to also take it a step further too. I think about, we're going to have people who listen to this episode from different realms of their business, whether it be they could use Whippy, whether it be they may not necessarily be ready for Whippy just yet, but when they get to that point, they want to use it. And then we have people who are trying to learn more, who are trying to take a deeper dive into it. So for someone who is interested in the services of Whippy and the products and what you guys offer and the automation and just figuring out what's broken in their business, as we spoke about, what can people expect with an experience with working with you guys? Can people expect, consultations? Or is this one-on-ones? Is this a lot of follow-ups, a lot of just different meetings and calls, getting down to the nitty-gritty? What can people who have never heard of Whippy before um, expect from an experience perspective?
Well, I don't know if we're the best software, I think, for everyone, because I think the first thing is you have to be a business to be able to use Whippy. So you'd have to be an actual, you have to have an LLC or a business to qualify. Because a lot of it is automated AI and communication, you have to actually get approved by telecom carriers through a process. So there is a little bit of a process to get approval to use Whippy. Like you can't just be using AI text message chatbots, representing a business. There's some stuff there, but once you've got that, once you've picked a package, we do have a real good white glove support. We train you. We continue to give you that love and service. I think that people need to make sure that they can adopt this technology. If you don't engage your clients, just like I'm telling people to use our software to engage theirs, people lose interest. So you have to make sure you get to your customers quick and you get them on board because you only have a certain period of time where they're engaged.
And as we were just talking about, as we kind of spoke about in the beginning, just about catching people's attention, and just
Hmm.
about how sometimes that window it gets smaller and smaller depending on what you are, what the content's about, and everything of the sort. Okay, but I like that because I like the fact that I like what you spoke about even in the previous answer about you guys not being for everybody. And I think that that's perfect because I think the moment that we try to appeal to everybody, to every crowd, to everything, well, one, I just feel like that's impossible. But two, that's when it may not just be as authentic, or you may be getting away from really why you guys came into business and what you started for and what you guys are ultimately trying to do moving forward. So I do like that. But two, I didn't realize that there was such a rigorous approval process. But I guess that makes sense. We're dealing with different technologies, we're putting things out there, when dealing with information, personal, everything like that. So I get that. All right. Now, obviously we're going to have, once again, people who are just hearing about Whippy, but people who are hearing about Whippy but interested in you guys and wanting to follow along the journey to see what's next, what's
Hmm.
happening, what's going on. And we love that here with the podcast. So for people just kind of coming across you guys, just kind of learning some things, checking out the website, going to go through the pages and different things like that, is there anything that they can expect moving forward as we continue to even move throughout the rest of the year? Is there anything that you guys are looking to maybe debut, any
Yeah,
industry?
we're about to debut a new product we're very excited about. Um, and I don't know if you can hear it here. I can show you. So basically, all of Whippy, whether it's manual or automated, has all been through text. Our main first channel was text messaging, but our customers came to us tomorrow and said, "Hey, we need you to build voice AI." So like, if someone misses an appointment, because some people they need, if they're going to do an interview, you need to collect questions. Sometimes voice is better. So that's a new product we're having. You can obviously, to answer your other question, you can find us on whippy.ai, so www.whippy.ai. But I think the voice AI is something that's really taking hold for a lot of the businesses who I think, oh, I answer a lot of customer support questions. Oh, people call in and I need to do basic screenings, and they're seeing the AI revolution and they're thinking, well, I think that could happen if it's via voice. That's one of the new exciting frontiers that we're undertaking right now.
I like that. And see, that's why I always love asking that question, because whereas there's so much that meets the eye at a surface level, you never know what people are doing behind closed doors, what they're thinking, what the customers are saying, what feedback that they're getting, how they're acting on that. Companies do their quarterly reviews, business reviews, and everything, and monthly, even just the same. And so there are things that they know that they want to improve upon, that they want to crunch numbers, make things better than the last month, and so forth and so on. So I love to hear that, one, while you guys are providing such an amazing just resource and tool right now, you're not stopping. You're going to keep going. So as I was going through the website, I see WordPress, I see WebTool, I see Indeed, I see ZipRecruiter, I see a host of different just websites and other platforms that Whippy integrates. A lot of these being apps, a lot of these being things that we even use on a day-to-day basis, some that I was very familiar with. Was there a specific process to being able to integrate these things? Did you have to like reach out to these companies? Were these agreements and different contracts and stuff that you guys had to sign in order to have this on your platform and allow people to utilize it just the same?
Yeah, so we're undergoing a lot of integrations and partnerships, as you said, because it really is like, where does the data sit? The names, the phone numbers, the activities. So we just got back from Minneapolis where we partnered with a company called TempWorks. They're a software for temporary staffing agency, hence the name TempWorks. And yeah, I mean, that is something that generally when we do those partnerships, they come through existing customers saying, we love Whippy, we want it to integrate to our softwares. You you mentioned some names there, like Zapier is also a great one. A lot of people use and build off Zapier, I'm sure you know, so we had to integrate with that. So those can either be just through APIs, open APIs, and just an agreement. Some of them involve a deeper partnership, like we're doing with some of the software in the staffing world or the pharmacy world. So And some of those are like meetings and making sure that the two companies align on the direction they're going.
I got it. I got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I was not familiar with TempWorks though, but okay, yeah, a lot of those as I was kind of scrolling through, I was like, I've either used these or they've been in different. They've even kind of come in my job as clients, or I've used them just separately. So that was actually very cool to see how you can kind of do that in just a process. I didn't really realize that, but that's cool to hear. Cool to see. So, do you find that there are misconceptions, misunderstandings, people who just don't necessarily know what it is that you guys are doing, the space that you're in, the industry that you're working? Do you ever have people just come to you and maybe just not really have a clue, not really have a single idea, or just maybe even think that you guys are doing something that you're not? Like, have you ever had to just clear the air, clear up any confusion, or really explain things from the ground up level?
Not that often, because again, most of the people that are coming in through our sales team, which means that the sales team is prospecting them and saying these are good fits, or they be coming to an integration partner that's like, hey, you use our software, but you need Whippy to automate this part of the process. Um, there are sometimes people that come in, like there's a lot of people that find us on different stuff like forums, online forums, Facebook groups, Reddit. But generally, when they find us, they're kind of having a problem. So luckily, that hasn't happened that often um, yet. But I think when people find us, they're already coming with a pain.
Got you, got you. I like the industries that you guys work in are very, I would say, populous and prevalent: staffing, real estate, pharmacy, everything like that. As we continue to even law, healthcare, just the same too. All five of those really industries that I've spoken to a lot of different people in, or that I've worked with closely, just the same. As time continues to grow, as things continue to move on, are you and things continue to change from a technology perspective, from a marketing perspective, anything like that? Are you is there anything to be concerned about with these industries? Are we, I know that we talk a lot about replacement and AI taking jobs and just different things like that. But being that these industries are so populated, are we pretty much use them in some capacity every single day. Is there anything that do you feel like with time that you guys will continue to strengthen your relationships and your workforce within these industries? Are there industries that you're looking to kind of add to the forefront? Because, like we said, while this is not really niche or industry specific, people are coming to you with a set problem, knowing that they want to maybe find a solution to something, or knowing that this doesn't work, but hey, I'm trying to move it to here. So, from those industries, are you worried about any of them ever like diminishing? Are you looking to add new ones? Are you kind of just open to whatever people may come to you with?
So, I mean, in the end of the day, you're always worried, right? As an entrepreneur, as a founder, I'm sure you know yourself. You have to always stay ahead of it. You have to offer great support. But I think you're always looking for industries. I just don't think we can go for any shiny object. So I think when we look at a new industry, we have to make sure that we vetted that industry, that the product fits, etc.
I got you, for sure, for sure. So, all right, now, obviously we've talked a lot about what you guys are doing, from a ground up approach to what to look forward to even what it's like. Not even really necessarily a day in the life, but what it would be like if Whippy so chose to be the business that you took on to really help you solve that problem or problems within your business. Now, before we obviously tell everybody where they can find you, the website, everything of the sort, testimonials, words, referrals, because y'all, they have a host of referrals on that website. They have a lot of testimonials. They have a lot of people who spoke to, just the genuine and authentic work that they did. David, do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched on today? Anything that we haven't spoken about with Whippy? Anything that you want to kind of add for people? Or even I'll add to any last words that you want to leave out there for other business owners, for entrepreneurs, creatives, people just at any point in their journey?
No, I think we talked about a couple of tips here. You can find us on whippy.ai. I think well, the one thing we mentioned that I think we both agreed on is when we first started Whippy, we wanted everyone and anyone to be using it. But I think you're right. Sometimes you have to say you're not a good fit, or you have to make sure the person that you're bringing on or the company you're bringing on, because you want retention. You don't want that issue where you have to worry about revenue leaving and not whatnot. So I think a big thing is understanding like who is your actual ideal persona, or who is the user, and really being okay, foregoing revenue or saying no. I think that's a big one, that a trap that a lot of people fall for. But no, otherwise, I think we did a great job. And if anyone has any questions, they can find us directly on whippy.ai. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you and your successes as you continue the pod.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. No, I think you made a great point about that. And I think you made a great point that it's not always about the money. It's not always about just trying to get all the business that comes your way, but rather what's right for you, what's the fit, what's going to help Whippy in a sense. Because taking on just more than what you can handle or biting off more than what you can chew, it can only be of detriment to the business, to the service, to even you as workers and employees. So no, I'm definitely we're very appreciative for you coming on here, for you offering some insight, obviously, into what you guys do, but also just some insight into the space that you're into, the industries, the direction that we're moving in. And thank you for making yourself a resource for my audience and everything like that, just the same. And obviously, for as much as you throw support here and help us, we obviously want to be that just the same for you. So anything that we can do to help, obviously I want to tap my audience, and everybody, please be sure to check out the website. Please be sure to connect with David, any questions or anything that you may have. But also, I think people could be doing their due diligence just the same. While you said there's no way to pretty much be predictive of the future, you can always kind of just know what's going on. Do your due diligence, do your research, everything like that, and figure out what your business, what goals you're trying to attain, maybe if you have any problems, if you're struggling, everything of the sort. So David, from me to you, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. I'm wishing you, the team over at Whippy, the best of luck. And to everybody who continuously taps in with us, everybody who showed up to the event, made it happen for us, and really just propels the podcast from helping us with the grant to just all the love and everything that you guys show. I appreciate it. I love you guys. This has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.